walk my dog around here, and when I'm here I watch out for weeds. And the one I'm going to have a look at today is balloon vine, which is growing all along this edge here, which is very near to Caville Creek. And it's a concern because although a lot of that's lantana, it's climbing up into the mangroves, which isn't good for trees to have vines all over them. This is a bit of a weed wonderland because actually everything you can see is weeds. There's giant reed, which looks a bit like a droopy bamboo. There's balloon vine, which we're going to look at in a minute, and that's climbing all over lantana. And not far away is cassia. So there's not many native plants to be concerned about here, but it could be very good fauna habitat because we're very near to Caville Creek. You can see the furthest plants we can see are actually grey mangroves, and there could be good trees planted where these weeds are, but first of all we'd need to deal with the weeds. We could, for instance, have Casuarina glauca or Banksia, which would be a really good edge and probably better for fauna than this dreadful weedy mess. Now I've come prepared for this, and I've brought a native plant that I want to show you, which is very like balloon vine, but there are some differences, and we'll go and look at them together because this native plant is worth saving. Balloon vine is very similar, but let's come and see how they compare. Now first I'll show you this one, which is called native grape, and it is a member of the grape family, and it's got leaves like that, with compound leaves with little sections to each. It looks like that. There are the flowers. Oh, there is the flower. There are tiny, very tiny little flowers, and these are fairly quickly followed by small black berries, not as big as grapes. And it climbs by these tendrils, just like a grapevine does. Very spiral, springy little tendrils. Lots of them. Now another interesting thing about this native climber is that it's a food plant for several remarkably interesting moths. At least one or two are caterpillars that will later turn into hawk moths, and they're very beautiful large caterpillars, and they can easily strip all the foliage off a vine in a couple of weeks. And there's also a day-flying moth with a beautiful caterpillar that's black, white and orange. So it does have its virtues, and I think it's got very pretty foliage, so I like this personally. But now let's have a look at balloon vine, which is extremely similar. Balloon vine, and here we've got the weed that we don't want. See, that also has compound leaves, but the feel of these leaves is quite velvety to touch, whereas Caerratia is quite smooth. Another difference about balloon vine is that here are the stems that are going to produce the flowers, and right near the flowers you can see little tiny tendrils there. So it grows its tendrils in quite a different way from Caerratia. Those are the tiny buds, but further down the plant we can have a look at some flowers that have actually come out. And here they are, they're pretty little white flowers. And the problem with balloon vine is that after these dear little white flowers are finished, we get enormous amounts of big seed pods, which we call the balloons, and inside each of those is quite a few seeds. This weed is particularly bad because those pods can float a long way and spread the weed all along the rivers and all along the riverbanks. So it's a really, really bad weed of creeks and rivers. Now we've come around the corner from where we started looking at balloon vine, and we can see those flowers up here and one of the balloon pods up there. But a good thing here is that we found where one of the biggest of the plant's bases is. All these stems here are part of the maybe one plant, maybe there was another one over here. I've got my herbicide ready, and it's in this bottle from the hairdresser, and it's got some dye in it. I think this one's got blue dye, and the dye's there so that when you've done the cut you can actually see where the herbicide was. The herbicide is, I should say. When you've done the cut, you can see where it is. So I'm going to put it on straight away, I hope. Oh, it's got red dye in it. Within 15 seconds of doing the cut. Now, what's this one doing? This one does seem to have a root here, so I'm going to cut as much as I can and put the herbicide on there. See how it's soaked into the cut surface? I'm only trying to put as little on as I can so it doesn't spill on the ground. There's quite a few bits we can cut here. The part to concentrate on is the outside edge of the stem, because that's where the tissue is that's going to move the herbicide into the plant, where the sap is moving. So that's how I see how it's really sucked it in. There it goes. Now we can just keep doing that. I'm trying to make the cuts as horizontal as I can, which isn't all that easy. The reason for that is that then the herbicide stays on there and soaks in rather than run off. Now this one, try this one. This plant actually might be a few years old, so it's probably going to make a big difference to our weed wonderland when this one is gone, because it probably has gone a long way. It's a very vigorous climber and it can go for many metres. Here's a nice thick one. Right, that's that one. That's enough. The thing is that it's a much easier weed to control than morning glory and honeysuckle. See, this one here does have a root, and what I can do is just cut it off where it's going into the ground. I'll do that one as well. There's another one. There's another one. Maybe these roots only develop when it's fairly mature. There we are. So we can just leave that. We'll just check there aren't any more bits coming off it. There's a little tiny shoot. That'll just die. Here are some old pods on the ground, and they have 3 seeds in each of the balloons. I'm going to put these in a bag because I don't want the seedlings to come up. If you're cutting down a vine and there are no balloons, just cut it and what's up in the tree will simply die. There's no need to worry. You can expect seedlings to come up after you've done your first work for several years after the parent plant is dead. So you'll have to plan to go back and keep an eye on things.